So it's a nice start. It's all about the Svelte. We kept talking with Lukas about this framework, and we kept saying Svelte SvelteKit. That's wrong, apparently. So that's in the beginning. We are going to deep dive. I don't know if deep dive or like scratch on the surface, probably the latest. But how to pronounce this framework? The right way is, Lukas, how is it?
Svelte.
Svelte, exactly. Do we have like a real voice here? Can you push the button to see how it sounds?
I'm not sure if you can hear it.
Svelte. Svelte.
Svelte. Svelte. That's the right pronunciation. Only this way, like Svelte. You have to say Svelte.
Svelte.
Nice. You know, Elon Musk wanted like for so long get to the space, but you got first there. Seems like.
Mm-hmm.
And also established intergalactic contact with aliens. What is really nice.
Yeah.
So, the only little thing we have to figure out still is Svelte.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Space exploration is already done. Yeah.
Yes.
Move to
a fat check mark on this.
Topics. Yeah.
Yeah. And while you are in space, I'm getting a message that my internet connection is not stable. So I will try to fix it as we speak.
Nice. My rocket landed in the ocean, so no.
Oh, you switch places like you. I always knew you are kind of an alien, you know.
Yeah.
They do this all the time. They switch from space to submerge, you know, to underwater. And I even like was almost I don't know how to say. So who is observing something like a being my English is really terrible today.
I haven't even like started the part of my brain that is responsible for the English.
So what's up with your brain today?
Yeah. Okay.
Work too much for Sunday?
No, I ate too much.
Oh, okay.
So, because of that, I'm also tired.
Yeah. So nice setup for exploration. Let's see how it goes further from here. So what do we want to do today?
Learn a little bit about Svelte, sorry.
Yeah, today we will practice saying Svelte like for 2 hours straight.
Yeah, that's it. And next time we will
that's one of the most
learn other trigger words next time. But
do you know, Lukas, how is it correct to pronounce SQL or SQL?
I pronounce it SQL, but it's
okay.
No,
I used to say SQL, but for a couple of last years, I'm pretty frustrated about the right name. Maybe it's a regional thing. Maybe some places say SQL. Maybe some places
Americans say SQL.
SQL, yeah, that's what I heard also. Okay, let's not confirm it yet. We don't have today, thankfully, like SQL course or SQL, whatever you like. Yeah, and Swelt Kit, what is also in a continuation of Svelte, applied in the terms of building Jamstack applications. And it's really what was interesting last week, or maybe it was this week, it's the end of the week anyways, I just still missing the time. So there was a course by one of the amazing DigitalOcean courses, like for 1 hour, I guess it was, with one senior either software consultant or software developer, don't remember. And he was talking mainly about Svelte and like getting started with Svelte. But he also mentioned pretty much in the beginning, I haven't watched the whole video, maybe I have to watch it at some point. So he mentioned, but the guy comes like this. This is a great case. He comes from Angular, React, and a little bit of Vue world, So he have something to compare to, and he said, in terms of static site generators and Jamstack, Svelte Kit is a kind of a counterpart or like a similar thing to Next.js or Nuxt.js, what is like Vue based, and Next.js is a React based. So this is like exactly what we wanted to have confirmed. Like we approached before React and Next.js, but now we are also considering definitely like very eager about React, not React, Svelte and SvelteKit. So yeah, all the theories are confirmed now. I think we can, with a peace of mind, like proceed and diving deeper into this thing. And you pulled out this translation for Svelte. What was it? The meaning of the word?
Like schlank
in
German.
Slim. Is it slim or
It's
something?
Slim, yeah, very slim. Like yeah, very
So
slim.
it's like its reputation, right? So it's this guy, the founder of creator of Svelte, kept this kind of criteria as important from the very beginning. This is where from the beginning of designing this framework. So it's designed in such a way that it's like by design it's very quick and very performant. What is like really nice criteria to focus on, and it's apparently faster than React and Next.js, I guess. I don't know, like for sure, and also Vue probably. So sounds like exactly what we need.
What should we start with? Have you already did some small?
They haven't. They have some nice tutorial also on Svelte. What else? Swelt Kit. I don't know. Maybe we can it would be probably crazy, but we could target Swelt Kit first and then figure out. What I also heard that the Svelte thing is pretty easy to learn and understand. What is another great advantage comparing to other similar frameworks like React, for example. Yeah. And
we should start with, because
does SvelteKit has a kind of tutorial or something?
SvelteKit?
Yeah, it's kit.svelte. Extension. I don't really remember one, but if you look up like SvelteKit, it should pop up first.
When I first heard about Svelte, and I thought it was pronounced Svelte, I thought it was some kind of like Swedish or Norwegian word.
Some kind of Nordic name or something, right?
Yeah. They have only docs.
Yeah, in the docs you would probably have like getting started or stuff like this. Or is it like Svelte docs? Not SvelteKit.
Kit.svelte.dev/docs. What is SvelteKit is like the first paragraph there. Yeah.
Okay, let me just share screen here. Okay. So let's look up DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean is here. Let's see if they already published the recording. I think it was available. Let me see. Take some time. Okay. For some reason I cannot find it again, but it should be somewhere on their channel. So I'm looking up this video. I'm trying to find this video about SvelteKit, Svelte actually, Svelte, just to save the bookmark maybe for later, because we're not going to watch it right now. Yeah, it's somewhere there. I will find it. Okay, so let's move to.
It's the third from the left side. Svelte, getting started with Svelte.
Somewhere here.
The third one from.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Eagle Eye. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. You see, I watched like 17 minutes through the video, and it's 1 hour long. But that seems to be a good tutorial. But we can watch it like offline or whenever we have time. For this session, I think let's see just. This is the video exactly. Getting started with Svelte. For this video, let's for this session, let's maybe move to kit.svelte.dev is actually the domain name.
The .dev domains gotten very popular in the last year or last 3 years.
You know who introduced them?
Google.
Yeah, they are the main operator of this domain or whatever it's called, and they have like plenty. They have like 10 or 12 or more even, like top level domains.
Yeah, for every of their frameworks like Angular.dev, Flutter.dev, Dart.dev, I guess for other technologies, that's mainly the ones I know very well, or pub.dev for the Dart package manager.
Yeah, they're using it extensively as well, and that's why other developers, I guess, are using it as well. And it's getting popular, yeah. Maybe if you're a domainer, it's nice time to grab some of the .dev domains. But you see, it's kind of a little bit difficult to memorize. I mean, IO domains are also getting.
It's really targeted only for developers, or that's not the problem.
So let's see. Before we begin, this is like where I am right now. It's kit.svelte.dev/docs. This is not like Svelte docs. This is Swelt Kit docs. What is nice. So before we begin, Swelt Kit is in early development. Oh, that's promising. And some things may change before we hit version 1.0. So they are even not officially 1.0 version.
Yeah.
Go use it in production now. This document is a work in progress. If you get stuck, reach out for help in Discord chat room. And they have Discord. Yeah, I think I joined the room, but haven't communicated yet much. See the migration guides for help upgrading from Sapper. Yeah, so Sapper is their previous framework for building Jamstack applications. For some reason, I heard that it was not perfect, and they deprecated it completely. So the new version now and the new product is a Svelte Kit that you have to target. But that's already raising some questions in mind. Like Next.js is pretty mature framework, and which has been there like for plenty of years, and the most popular one actually. Svelte Kit, it's not yet even version 1.0, and it just popped up, I think, this year, and it was officially came out of beta like a couple of months ago or so. So exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's see what it is actually. Svelte Kit is a framework for building extremely high-performance web apps. Building an app with all the modern best practices is friendishly complicated. Those practices include build optimization so that you load only minimal required code, offline support, prefetching pages before the user initiates navigation, and configurable rendering that allows you to generate HTML on the server or in the browser at runtime or at build time. SvelteKit does all this boring stuff for you so that you can get on with the creative part. And SvelteKit does this all the while providing a lightning fast development experience where changes to your code show up in your browser automatically. That's interesting. We do this by leveraging Vite with Svelte plugin, whatever Vite is, probably some module, so that updates are instant and precise without reloading the page or blowing away application state. You don't need to know Svelte to understand the rest of this guide. What? Look at this. That's amazing. But it will help. But it will help, basically. Yeah. In short, it's a UI framework that compiles your components. I think that's the right spelling. To highly optimized vanilla JavaScript. Read the introduction to Svelte blog post and the Svelte tutorial to learn more. So I don't know if we can jump. Oh, it's Svelte tutorial. Okay, it's Svelte tutorial. We will try to go without Svelte tutorial. Straight to the getting started with this thing.
Yeah, okay. I mean, the Svelte blog post is also very short.
Let's see the Svelte blog post. Rethinking reactivity. Okay, that's not really very short, but it's not a huge one as well.
Maybe
okay,
let's read the paragraph. What is Svelte? I can do that.
What is Svelte? Svelte is yeah, go on.
I can, if you want. What is Svelte? Svelte is a component framework like React or Vue, but with an important difference. Traditional frameworks allow you to write declarative, state-driven code, but there's a penalty. The browser must do extra work to convert those declarative structures into DOM operations, using techniques like virtual DOM, diffing that eat into your frame budget and tax the garbage collector. Okay. Should we clarify that a little bit?
Yeah. Can you clarify it?
With normally you have the DOM, which is like the HTML, like a JavaScript representation of your HTML document, like a parsed representation of it, of all the contents that will be displayed on the website. And with React, you have some kind of virtual DOM, document object. What was it? What the shortcut mean for the DOM? What does it mean? Can you remember it still?
Document object model, I guess.
Model is the last word, yeah. And document object model. And React puts like a virtual DOM on top of it because it is based on stateful or on components that include their own state, so they have to be like rendered or processed on a virtual DOM, which then goes down to the actual DOM to render everything, which is kind of resource heavy, and yeah, that's what they told us here. And yeah, Svelte, what we heard so far, doesn't have a virtual DOM, so it is a lot faster and a lot more lightweight also.
Okay. So this reactant view, they apparently use so-called virtual Dom diffing, right?
Yeah, that's basically, you have the virtual DOM, and React looks which of the basically looks you
what
have
has
the virtual
changed?
DOM and the actual DOM, and look what are the differences, which components of the virtual DOM have changed, and always have to compare those two and keep synchronized, and this takes a lot of compute power. And also with the virtual DOM, you have basically one set of components that are just there for internally and are allocated in the memory of the computer, and then you have
So it's
like
a double slice. It takes
also,
double slice.
yeah, double the size basically, or maybe not like literally, but somehow like that. And
yeah, so that's interesting. In this article, they have a reference actually. The words virtual DOM diffing will guide you via link to the article called "Virtual DOM is pure overhead" by Rich Harris, who is the creator of Svelte. So basically, what it means, they have thrown away this virtual DOM, seems like, in Svelte. What is really interesting. Okay, we will not go through the whole article. If you have time and want to figure out the details, go through it and learn why Rich decided to go without DOM. But I guess the point is it's not as performant as maybe everyone believed at first. To have like a digital twin of your page, basically, where by every change it will kind of be reapplied to your real DOM from virtual DOM. So let's go here. Next paragraph. Instead,
I will
Svelte.
share my screen instead of
Yeah. Go for you with your screen.
yeah. Okay, should I read?
Yeah.
Instead, Svelte runs at build time, converting your components into highly efficient imperative code that surgically updates the DOM. As a result, you are able to write ambitious applications with excellent performance characteristics. So they put most of the building of the components in the in a build process that is before like the page is even shipped or deployed, and also because of that before runtime, which is interesting.
I kind of like this approach. It seemed to be super optimized, and I don't know if you can optimize even further if you throw away virtual DOM, so you don't need this overhead, and you optimize everything. That sounds really promising, performance-wise.
Okay, the first version of Svelte was all about testing a hypothesis that a purpose-built compiler could generate rock-solid code that delivered a great user experience. The second was a small upgrade that tidied the things up a bit. Version 3 is a significant overhaul, which is the current version, if I understood it right. Our focus was, for the last 5 or 6 months, has been on delivering an outstanding developer experience. It's now possible to write components with significantly less boilerplate than you'll find elsewhere, which sounds really great, because can you remember like building components in React with JavaScript classes? You had so much boilerplate with constructors and all of that.
Yeah, I had a really difficult time to figure out everything how it works there, but hopefully it will be easier, and presumably it is. Yeah, I mean, I hear all the times that it's easier to grasp this Svelte concept.
Yeah. Try the brand new tutorial and see what we mean. If you're familiar with other frameworks, we think you'll be pleasantly surprised. To make that possible, we first needed to rethink the concept at the heart of modern UI frameworks, reactivity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they are showing us what they mean with reactivity. Moving reactivity into the language. In old Svelte, you would tell the computer that some state had changed by calling the this.set method. Like this. That would cause the component to react. Speaking of which, the this.set is almost identical to the this.set state method used in classical pre-hooks React. Basically, it's kind of how also stateful widgets work in Flutter. You have the set state method and it triggers a rebuild of the component during runtime. Yeah.
Interesting.
There are some important technical differences, as I explained in the video above. React is not reactive, but conceptually it's the same thing. That all changed with the advent of hooks, which handle state in a very different fashion. Many frameworks started experimenting with their own implementation of hooks, but we quickly concluded it wasn't a direction we wanted to go in. React has also hooks. Hooks have some intriguing properties, but they all involve some unnatural code and create unnecessary work for the garbage collector. For a framework that's used in embedded devices as well as animation-heavy interactives, that's no good. Yeah. So we took a step back and asked ourselves what kind of API would work for us, and realized that the best API is no API at all. So they want to get rid of all of the boilerplate code and all of that. We can just use the language. Updating some count value and all the things that depend on it should be as simple as this. I can share another example here that was like this, that you had to really complicatedly wrap this into the set state or set, or how basically how React does it, or the older version of Svelte does it. Yeah. Since we are a compiler, we can do that by instrumenting assignments behind the scenes. That's interesting. You can see that's what we wrote, what you write, and that's what the compiler adds in the build process. Like, it's adding more information to it. Nice. Importantly, we can do all this without the overhead and complexity of using proxies or accessors. It's just a variable. It's also nice. Yeah. New look. Your components aren't the only thing that's getting a facelift. Svelte itself has a completely new look and feel, thanks to the amazing design work of Achim Bedam, and now how to pronounce him, who created our new logo and website, which has moved from svelte.technology to svelte.dev.
Dot technology. What a great domain.
Yeah.
That's always like interesting when the top domain level is longer than the actual domain.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, we've also changed our tagline from the magical disappearing UI framework to cybernetically enhanced web apps. Svelte has many aspects: outstanding performance, small bundles, accessibility, built-in style encapsulation and declarative transitions, ease of use, the fact that it's a compiler, etc., that focusing on any one of them feels like an injustice to the others. Yeah. Cybernetically enhanced is designed to instead evoke Svelte's overarching philosophy that our tools should work as intelligent extensions of ourselves. Hopefully with a retro William Gibson-esque twist. Isn't he some kind of science fiction writer? I don't know him.
Yeah, I don't know them. This guy either.
Yeah, he is a fiction writer.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we can skip the upgrading from version 2 part because we are not aware what was going on in the version 2. But still, this one, it looks interesting. They mentioned supper there somewhere in between. So
Yeah. Okay. As grueling as this release has been, we are nowhere near finished. We have a ton of ideas for generating smarter, more compact code and a long feature wish list. Sepper, our next JS-style app framework, is still in the middle of being updated to use Svelte 3. The Svelte native community project, which allows you to write Android and iOS apps, in Svelte is making solid progress but deserves more complete support from core. We don't yet have the bounty of editor extensions, syntax highlighters, component kits, dev tools, and so on that other frameworks have, and we should fix that. We really want to add first-class TypeScript support. Yeah. But in the meantime, we think Svelte 3 is the best way to build web apps yet. Take an hour to go through the tutorial, and we hope to convince you of the same. Either way, we'd love to see you in our Discord chat room and on GitHub. GitHub, everyone is welcome, especially you. Yeah. Okay, then.
yeah, sounds really promising so far, except one thing, and we have to keep it in mind. It's still a pretty fresh. When we're speaking of Svelte, it's still a pretty new, young, I would say, framework, and SvelteKit even more so. And
But
if
the
you,
thing is,
yeah,
this article is from 2019.
19 exactly, yeah.
So it should have moved a lot.
It even didn't mention SvelteKit. They were still pushing Supper as their next JS alternative. So somewhere within the next years after this article, they decided to maybe not like move. I think they even migrated to Svelte 3 as a Supper framework, but they decided for some reason, because of some kind of architectural challenges with Supper. This is what I heard. They created Svelte.
They had 44 versions, minor versions, since version 3.0. So it's a lot that has changed.
That's Svelte looks like kind of stable, more or less. Svelte itself.
I also know that Süddeutsche Zeitung, very big publisher in Germany, also very high quality, they are using Svelte for all of their digital investigations and storytelling.
Wow. Apple is apparently also using Svelte for their homepage.
See if we can
At
see.
least this is what I read somewhere.
Let's see. Maybe they have used it for some new pages, like for the new MacBook pages.
Yeah, could be.
I'm not sure.
So the challenge with Swelt Kit, if you do something like production grade, that might be like within 1 or 2 years, we have to like have make some major changes because the framework has changed since then. Not the Svelte framework, but SvelteKit framework, because it's really new. It's just a few months old out of the beta.
But I mean, the other thing is if it's even needed to like build everything with SvelteKit, because some logic, for example, of our project just lives inside the browser, like registration process.
Yeah, so it's Svelte, right? What
Yeah.
SvelteKit does, Svelte itself, it doesn't mess on the server side. It's everything is client side. It's in the browser. But what SvelteKit does, it takes some part of it and makes it on the server side, generates some pages, puts preloads some Svelte code on it. That's just at least my understanding. So yeah, you are right. Like as long as Svelte framework doesn't change like in a major way, probably we shouldn't be worried about it.
No, absolutely not.
So yeah, looks great. So maybe let's continue with the Svelte kit, because they kind of promised
on the page.
they promised that we don't really need to know Svelte. What is like super strange. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you want to continue? We were here.
Sure. Yeah. So where are you now? It's Swelt Kit Documentation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great.
That's basically how we how to set it up, but it should be interesting.
Yeah, let me take over this part. Okay. So now we are getting started with the Swelt Kit. Yeah, here, this part. The easiest way to start building a Swelt Kit app is to run Npm Init. So it means already, if you want to run it locally, you have to install the Npm kit, everything like Node.js environment, and use console, and then type Npm Init Svelte at next. That's interesting. My dash app. So I don't have like everything installed. I think I have an Npm in place, but but then you don't need anything else, right? Like Npm is enough. You can pull this package. I will try it out, but let's go through this commands at first. Then so basically what you do here, you say to Svelte to kind of, what is this, Lukas? What's this part? Like Svelte at next.
That's basically the package name at npm, Node Package Manager.
So and init, npm init means you want to initiate this package or what?
Yeah.
Like you want to pull it and install.
I think that's what they want. That they are already installing the version of Svelte. Then, like the next version, which is the latest one, and
okay,
Svelte is basically the package name, and this add notation is basically the part of like.
And you are initiating the first application, actually, not only just installing this.
You create a repository for your for a Svelte application. That's what you do.
Okay.
Because you can see in the next line, you then change directory.
You jump into this directory, and here you do the npm install. Whatever it means, like what is being installed here.
That's basically, if you init it, if you initialize it, it actually doesn't download the packages, but it will just create a configuration file and basically say which versions you want to use and which packages, dependencies, and with install you then have to install it. And this run dev seems to be some kind of predefined script in your configuration file.
Okay, nice that we discussed it because they actually describe it here. Let's go through it. The first command will scaffold a new project in the My App directory, asking you if you would like to set up some basic tooling such as TypeScript. Okay, see the FAQ for pointers on setting up additional tooling. The subsequent commands will then install its dependencies and start a server on localhost port 3000. And that's really interesting. Okay. There are two basic concepts. Each page of your app is a Svelte component. Each page of your app is a Svelte component. Okay. You create.
What are
Yeah.
those .svelte files? Right.
It's that's probably the text file ending with Svelte as an extension. That's a good guess. You create pages by adding files to the src /roots directory of your project.
Hi, Victor.
Hey, hi, Victor. Nice to see you. Okay, so you create pages by adding files to the src roots. So in this application directory here that we created, we moved here, my app. Then there probably, if you did all these 4 lines or initiation, you will get src stands probably for source code, src subdirectory, and then another one is called roots subdirectory there. This is my expectation, Lucas. Do you think the same?
I think so too, yeah. And I can just do it.
Yeah, that would be great. So you create, again, you create pages by adding files to the src roots directory of your project. Okay, that's a way to create pages in Svelte.
Yeah.
This will be...
From what I can see, I already have some issues with npm, like usual.
You're trying to do it locally?
Yeah.
Maybe we could find... I think this guy from DigitalOcean, he used, if I'm not wrong, like it could be Gitpod, something like IT as a service. I think that it's everything like it's prepared there. Let me check it out. Gitpod.io. If they have like everything.
Okay, but it's also it's not so easy as well to set it up. I already have it locally. So should maybe work.
Oh, they support Svelte actually.
Yeah.
At gitpod.io. Yeah, I'm just using GitHub credentials to get started on Gitpod. And you, Lucas, meanwhile, trying to...
This is Svelte, not SvelteKit.
Yeah, you're right. It's not SvelteKit.
Okay.
So probably it will not help us very much. But it works for Svelte at least, what is really nice. Oh, they also have a src directory here.
Yeah.
Nice. And they have a file here, app.svelte, exactly as you guessed. Okay, super interesting. Could you figure out this thing with your setup?
No, it's some kind of super shitty error that many people have. Okay, they're suggesting that my npm or my node version is too old. See what I can do with that.
Yeah. So, and we see here as an example, meanwhile, the structure of a Svelte file. It consists of 3 blocks. The first one is a script block. The second one is I don't know, like I could even call it HTML block, but it's not HTML. It's something like React, what React has with JS6, I guess. So this is this part, like where the content actually goes. And then they have a style block as well. And I think you, Lucas, said it last time, like you don't really like very excited about putting all these different parts in one file, but it seems like it just makes sense, you know? So it's...
I think it makes sense for many things, but it could also lead to fragmentation when it comes to your styling. That's what I hate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also
I think you can still offload parts if you want, like to have the same script part across multiple files. You can just upload it, not upload it, but extract it in a separate file, and then just link this file in all the instances. I think it should still be possible, but
I think that's bad practice because you have those components. So why should you use scripts that you offload somehow? I think you should more or less do everything in components and nest them together and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm now installing a later version of Node.
You're installing now. Okay.
Yeah, and interesting is that for some reason, because I'm reinstalling Node, my homebrew on my Mac wants to also install a new version of Python and TCL, some kind of UI framework. Oh, it also upgrades glib, which is...
So you're basically doing an OS update right now. It will take only probably like
not only that. Oh, it's also upgrading ImageMagick. Some HTTP tool libraries, Midnight Commander. Oh god.
Update everything at once.
Yeah. It should work.
Yeah, but the things we learned that each page of your app is a Svelte component, and you create new pages by adding files to SRC roots. Okay, that's interesting. Try editing the files to get a feel for how everything works. You may not need to bother reading the rest of this guide. I like it, really. We recommend using Visual Studio Code with the Svelte extension, but support also exists for numerous other editors. Okay, so everyone is recommending Visual Studio Code. Maybe I have to finally install it. I think I have it somewhere.
You still use some kind of old text editor?
Yeah, I'm on Windows and I'm using Notepad. Just an extended version of it, but basically it is. There's Notepad++, which is also not bad for different programming languages with highlighting and everything.
Do you think so? I mean, It's good if you have some kind of text file, but if you want to like really Visual
But
Studio
everything.
Code is really advanced already.
Yeah. Now you know the news. The CEO, former or like first CEO of GitHub, announced that he leaves his
Yeah, I heard
position.
that too, and some German guy is the new will be the new CEO.
Yeah. From the name, it looks like a German guy,
And
but he was.
he also was behind like I think the acquisition of GitHub by Microsoft.
The guy who is replacing him now.
Yeah, and he also was the head of product, so he is responsible for all of the nice changes of GitHub in the last 2 years.
Yeah, the guy is definitely in the know, so
Yeah.
he's not an outsider or something, but could be a Microsoft guy as well. So I'm not 100% sure that it's
He also
original.
had a startup that was acquired by Microsoft, and then he did some things at Microsoft, and then
Oh, but he is a Microsofty. Before the GitHub acquisition, he was already in Microsoft at Microsoft, I guess.
but has a startup background, so
Yeah. They have like a different culture, particularly at GitHub. They are very like freedom loving, and I think these are the guys who opened all of their patents, like, and allowed everyone to use them or something like this.
Okay, now I'm trying to use.
How long was it like since the acquisition of GitHub? I think it's not like 3 years or so.
Not a long time, and it's really huge progress with the product, in my opinion. With code space, all of the project management features, and generally like mobile apps. Quite astonishing what they do.
So you see, it was middle of 2018, while it was announced at least that Microsoft is acquiring GitHub, and maybe I don't know like when exactly they did it, because sometimes they announce and close the deal after like some time, maybe next year already. But anyways, it seems like there were 4 years. No, actually 3 years. It's like 3 years ago, and 3 years for acquisition is a key date or key time, because they would usually have this kind of clause with founders of a startup which is being acquired, that they have to stay in the company for about 3 years. I think this is like generally time that is applied here, and they cannot leave. It's a part of the deal, so they cannot leave until then. And why? Because just to assure a smooth transformation and adaptation of business of startup to the mothership kind of company. And another acquisition I have, or not acquisition, but news of a similar kind, I heard like also this week, surprisingly, and I was really surprised. The company called Mendix, which is a developer of a low-code, no-code platform.
Which German?
Sorry?
Are they German?
No, it's a Dutch, originally Dutch company.
Yeah.
But they have like their headquarters are in Boston, but most of the people are in Rotterdam. So it's a predominantly Dutch company. You see, in exactly the same time, summer of 2018, Siemens acquired Mendix. And this week, the guy announced, the former or like current CEO of Mendix, a Dutch guy who sold the company, he announced that he will be leaving Also 3 years.
That's interesting.
That's just one. It's like a rule, and they cannot usually exit immediately after the deal is done. That's why this mother company keeps them, the original founders, for about 3 years, and then they can do whatever they want, and they would have usually a person set by the mother company behind this CEO, or near, close to CEO, who will be involved in a daily business with the CEO, with the founder of a startup. And once the founder leaves, this CEO, or this partner of him, will take place as a CEO. It was exactly the same case with Mendix. So a Siemens guy took over, another German guy took over a position of the CEO at Mendix.
Yeah, Germany.
Yeah, Germans, business as usual.
Yeah, I've now managed to update my Node version.
Yeah, you did. You're sharing the screen now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Should we use TypeScript or not? Because I like TypeScript. It's better than
whatever you want. Yeah, it was mentioned there that you will be asked in the tutorial about the TypeScript.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me just update Npm first. There's also a new version. That's crazy. Okay, explicitly. Okay. Let's hope everything works as expected. Nice, it already opened the application in the browser, which I can share here. This is our locally running Svelte app.
Oh, nice.
Swelt Kit app. Yeah.
It's on port 3000 as it was announced, right? Wow, you got a Swelt Kit application already. Nice. That's it.
Yeah. Maybe let's see what we have in the source code. We see test app.
Are you sharing?
And I will share this.
Okay.
I'll be sharing soon.
Okay. So this is a structure: static, src. Let's create, Lucas. Let's create a new file in roots, like about page, something like this.
We already have an about page, but can do another thing.
Oh, they have a to-do folder. Interesting. Oh, there is about one. Okay, cool. Let's create something like completely new. Test. Okay. Let's go with a test.
I don't know how to write Svelte components. That's the thing.
Just write like a usual HTML, like main, and then hello world or whatever, like something.
Svelte.
Oh, there's an extension.
Code.
Nice.
No, actually not everything. Okay. Okay, just see. It is running again. Let me see if we already have our test. Oh, nice. We already have our test route. Here I can show another window.
Yeah, show it to us. And it's just test, but with all the footer, header, and everything. That's really nice. So somewhere else is all footer.
It automatically updates.
How? What do you mean with automatic updates? Oh, yeah, that's nice. That's a cool feature of Svelte. So it basically, whatever you type there in the source code, it just immediately reflects on the server or in a browser.
Yeah. This works nicely. Okay. Excellent. I think what else is there? Let's jump.
Let's change the footer. Maybe just try to figure out where's the footer.
Give me a second. The footer is set by the layout, so we have to change the whole layout of the page. I want to do that right now.
But maybe just some tiny changes, like just text of the footer. Let's put our brand name there or something like this. So the file is __ layout.svelte, and it's located in style. Is it in style? Is it main? Okay, it's in style. It's in roots, actually. Okay, interesting. So if it's underscore, then it's not a root, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, you can write your own.
What is this? UID, JSON, and then TypeScript. That's interesting.
That's maybe something for
To do. Yeah, this is super interesting. To do. So it's a to-do list application, basically. This example here, and it has this wildcard for roots with UID. This is close to what we need, actually, right, Lucas, for user management.
I'm not sure what it actually means, what it actually is. I'm not sure.
That's just taking some UID of a task, I guess, and it just processes it. This is a page to process your tasks, I guess, which which have in a path like UID. If you go and try it out, like the web interface, and add some tasks, That's just a wild guess. I don't know already. But this wildcard looks so interesting. This UID in
Let us see what we have here in this.
to-dos is a folder, and then there is an index.svelte. So it's a catch-all kind of file for the folder, for the path to-dos.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's something for another day to figure out how this to-do
Sure.
exactly works. Yeah.
But it looks rather intuitive, I would say, the structure.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just like routing as in other frameworks, isn't it? I'm not sure if it's better or worse.
And they have a static folder also for static files. There's a favicon PNG for some reason. I don't know why. And robots.txt. Nice.
Yeah.
So all static content goes there, and it probably will be served in a folder from the folder static, or it could be a root. And we have to like check the actual paths or paths there. What it looks like actually. So basically, the homework for today will be probably just to install this Swelt Kit and the update, like make sure to update npm and everything. But then install Swelt Kit and play with this example. So you see, this is like the whole tutorial basically. you just will be provided with these 4 lines of code how to install it, and then play with this. And this is the best way probably to learn a new thing. And when you sufficiently played with this, like memorized some paths or some like locations or files, and then you can go deeper through the tutorial, you kind of remember like, yeah, I saw it somewhere. It probably means this and that, that really helps to learn a new thing.
But maybe let's continue the rest.
Why? I mean, we are already like Svelte experts, if you ask me.
No.
Let's continue. Yeah. What would be the next step? What do you think?
The next step would be to follow along what are the other things in the kit.svelte docs. Because we just had the first thing. Next thing is about routing. Yeah.
Let me start sharing the screen so that everyone sees where we go. Okay, wrong button.
I think I'm starting to understand what we saw there actually.
Do you want to share your screen or should I? And that's what I mean, Lucas. You can like go wild at first and rumble through this whole framework and see what kind of files and how it looks like. And then when you go through the proper documentation, you kind of everything start to make sense, right? And you after you do the second step, you definitely like understand and memorize what means what and why is it there. It works for me really well in most of the cases.
Yeah. You can share a few.
Okay, I will share. It's basically the documentation page of Swelt Kit. Okay, routing. We have a routing part. Nice. At the heart of Swelt Kit is a file system-based router. I like it. This means that the structure of your application is defined by the structure of your code base, specifically the contents of src routes, this subfolder. You can change this to a different directory by editing project config. That's nice. but we will stick to the default. There are two types of root: pages, and endpoints. Nice. So page is a page. Endpoint is something where you would have like for APIs, for example, but they don't use APIs, so it's interesting. Pages typically generate HTML to display to the user, as well as any CSS and JavaScript needed for the page. Okay, sorry. Pages typically generate HTML to display to the user, and as well as any CSS and JavaScript needed for the page. By default, pages are rendered on both the client and server. Through this behavior is configurable. So again, my English is terrible today. So, but I'm kind of trying to understand this thing, and it makes more sense now. Endpoints run only on the server. Okay, it makes sense as well. Or when you build your site, if pre-rendering. This means it's a place to do things like access databases or APIs that require private credentials, or return data that lives on a machine in your production network. Pages can request data from endpoints. Endpoints return JSON by default. Through may also return data in other formats. So not through. Okay, that's just nice. And I think we saw this endpoint example of endpoints. This is like what I told you. This UID, placeholder. This is. It looks like it's an endpoint. I like this concept. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with React Native Vue, but this concept looks like really simple. That's the key is a developer experience. If a framework is easy to understand and to use, that's already like a substantial part of a success. I'm not wondering why Svelte is getting so popular. Pages are Svelte components written in .svelte files, or any file with an extension listed in config.extension. So basically everything is configurable if you want to change, but default also just makes perfect sense as well. It's very understandable. By default, when a user first visits the application, they will be served a server-rendered version of the page in question, plus some JavaScript that hydrates. This is like term from before from React and so on. The page hydrates the page and initializes a client-side router. From that point forward, navigating to other pages is handled entirely on the client for a fast app-like feel, where the common portions in the layout do not need to be re-rendered. The file name determines the root. For example, src /roots /index.svelte is the root of your site. Okay, and this is an example here of the root of our site. Oh, nice! Haven't seen this tag yet. Svelte ;head. It basically puts what should be included into the head of a HTML file. We haven't used it yet. We used something like this: H1 opening, hello and welcome to my site, ! And then closing H1. Okay, that's just the pure HTML text here. This part as well, and this is a whatever like special tag for which
It
is
looks like it will be the header of your HTML file, not the
yeah.
Because
It
type
goes.
is also not visible. It's just a meter.
Yeah, it will go straight to your HTML head. Nice. But it's just so logical. You just say Svelte to use the head tag, and then insert this piece inside. It just makes so much sense. It's so intuitive. I like so much that it's very intuitive. A file called either about.svelte or index.svelte would correspond to the /about root. Nice. This is like the example of this about svelte file. Again, head is being used here. You set the title to about. It's HTML thingy, and the content is about this site to do blah blah blah. Okay, nice. This is what we did but with a test. We created a new file called test.svelte. I think it was test, and just inserted some random HTML text, and it was it turned out to be a completely new page. Oh, nice! Now we get to this brackets here. How to understand them? Dynamic parameters are encoded using brackets. That's exactly what I was looking for. For example, a blog post might be defined by src /roots. I don't know if it's a slash or a backslash. Anyways, I will call it slash /roots /blog /slug in brackets and .svelte. Okay, so everything what is after blog and within this brackets here as a placeholder, as the word slug is used, is our whatever parameter. Soon we will see how to access that parameter in a load function or the page store. Okay.
I will be back in a minute, okay?
Sure. Okay. So what else?
It really sounds nice.
That's super intuitive. I really like it so far.
Yeah, and what's also interesting is that if you use React, or for example, you don't have like a router built in, but I mean this is Swelt Kit, but
what?
Yeah,
that's
React doesn't have a router.
this roots subfolder. It was existing in Svelte also. It was not only in Swelt Kit, because I saw in this environment on Gitpod. Yeah, it was there as well. I don't know if it works the same, but yeah. No, so
maybe it's a single page application.
Could
basically
be
on the front end, but here it will generate really files.
Yeah.
It's nice. Okay, I will be back in a minute. Okay?
Sure. A file or directory can have multiple dynamic parts. Like, what? That's super cool. So you can have like several pieces of a slag or URL which are changing, but which will be catched by Svelte and passed to you as a parameters, and you can process them. That's super cool. I really like it, and I have already like a couple of use cases where this behavior can be used. Parameters are non-greedy. What does this mean? In an ambiguous case like x, y, z. So yeah, this is an ambiguous case, because as a separator we have between parameters, we have one dash here, and here in this slag we have two dashes. So the framework have to figure out like how to interpret it. Like, is it the x ID in this case, and y minus z is a category, or other way around? Is this x minus y is ID, and here z is a category? That's a good question here. ID would be x, and category would be yz. So, okay, it means non-greedy in their language. Okay, interesting. What it means, it will just, on the first occasion of this separator that is defined here, on the first occasion, it will already split the logic, like x will be ID, and y dash z, I say y minus z, will be interpreted as a category. That just makes sense as well. Okay. Also a very interesting piece. Endpoints. Well, let's get to the endpoints. Endpoints are modules written in JS files. That stands for JavaScript, or TS, what is extension for TypeScript files, that export functions corresponding to HTTP methods. Okay, let's see. Sorry, I got interrupted a little bit. So let's get to business. Declaration types for endpoints. Lucas, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I got distracted as well. What you have missed is this amazing piece. This paragraph here is so great. Or maybe like the whole thing about brackets. So that's have you already seen this part? Dynamic parameters are encoded using brackets.
Yeah, I've read it.
Okay, and there is a interesting non-greedy thing that is you can have like multiple dynamic parameters here. You see in a slug, what is like really cool. You see there is an ID here, and then dash and category. And Svelte understands Svelte, not Svelte. Svelte understands this actually, and it behaves in a non-greedy way, whatever it means. In this case, in ambiguous cases like this, it will say X is an ID, and the rest is a category. You see? Are you getting it? Okay, cool. Okay, let's move to endpoints. And endpoints can be written in, there are two types of code for the endpoints. One is JavaScript, another one is TypeScript. They're stored in separate files, the logic for endpoints. So let's see, this is like where it gets a little bit more complicated. That's an example of an endpoint here. Declaration types for endpoints. Declarations that are not exported are for internal use. Okay. Type of string is only for set cookie. Everything else must be a type of string. Okay. Type response headers, blah, blah, blah. Request headers here.
What I understood was that these endpoints are basically you cannot only write HTML files with it, but you can also write, for example, JSON endpoints, which are like APIs. You can basically write APIs, REST APIs with it.
Yeah, it looks even more like a remote function request or something like this, because officially they don't call them APIs in this case. Okay, export type. I'm not getting it pretty much right now, but I think it's just something what I have to grasp later on, like to understand how it works. Types, but they're just defining here some functions, I guess. There's some logic inside, and probably some output at some point. Output is also here. Yeah, extends default body. Yeah, something like this. This one is export interface request handler. Will be doing the outputting actually. That's interesting. I have to still understand how it works exactly, but for now, for an overview, I think it's okay. For example, our hypothetical blog page, blog cool article, might request data from blog cool article JSON. Okay, which could be represented by by the file slug.json.js. Okay, interesting. Endpoint. Okay, import from database. Oh, now they're using database actually here. What is really nice. So endpoints, they can actually do internal requests to databases and pull some data and output it.
Yeah. The endpoints, basically, they receive a request, and then you can send some kind of JSON or any other stuff back. Basically, they are like REST API package endpoints.
Yeah, I'm getting it, but then that's a more difficult kind of concept to grasp, because where's the backend actually? Like they're connecting
The
here.
backend is the application. Can you go a little bit higher? You can see here in the example. You can see here. Can you go a little bit higher? You can see that they are handling a response and request. They have a request which they are kind of analyzing, maybe getting some URL parameters from it, and then they return some kind of parameterized body.
Okay, I see. Okay, interesting. But this endpoint kind of logic and endpoint approach is still not like clear or 100% clear to me, but kind of I don't need it right now also. I mean, we can go also a long way without endpoints whatsoever. At some point we will need them, definitely. But basically just a static site maybe even doesn't need endpoints. All server-side code, including endpoints, has access to fetch in case you need to request data from external APIs. Okay.
That's nice. This is basically the newer version of those AJAX requests.
Yeah.
And those very horrible XML HTTP requests, or how they are called with like old JavaScript. And fetch is a more modern implementation of it that actually works asynchronously and makes everything much nicer for the interface. You don't have to deal with callbacks and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I see. Interesting. I guess I will need just some examples at some point like, to better understand it, but for now that's okay. The job of this function is to return a status headers body object representing the response where status is an HTTP status code. So starting with 2, it's everything beyond 200. Success is a successful response. 200 is a default response. Everything is good if you got it. 300 plus and everything like above it is a redirection. Should be accompanied by a location header. 400 and above is a client error, and 500 is and above is a server error. If the returned body is an object and no content type header is returned, it will automatically be turned into a JSON response. Don't worry about leap. We will get to that later. Returning nothing is equivalent to an explicit 404 response.
That's
404 response. Okay. For endpoints that handle other HTTP methods like POST, exporting the corresponding function. Export the corresponding function, sorry. Export function, POST, request. Okay. So there's a way to use POST as well.
Yeah.
Since delete is reserved word in JavaScript, delete requests are handled with the del function. Okay, nice to know. We don't interact with res objects. Objects you might be familiar with from Node's HTTP module or frameworks like Express, because they are only available on certain platforms. Instead, Swelt Kit translates the returned object into whatever's required by the platform you are deploying your app to. Okay. To set multiple cookies in a single set of response headers, you can return an array. Return headers, set cookie, and then you have like an array of cookies. Okay. Body parsing. The body property of the request object will be provided in the case of post requests. Text data, JSON, form data, blah, blah, blah. Private modules. Okay, let's read about private modules.
Start with an underscore. That's interesting. So if you want to build can you scroll a little bit up? Sorry, I can see it. It was lagging a little bit behind.
Okay. So you mean this one, like private modules?
That's interesting.
A file name that has a segment with a leading underscore, such as underscore private.svelte or underscore utils, what is a directory, and then some files inside, is hidden from the router. Nice. That is like, we did have a case like this there, but can be imported by files that are not hidden. Okay.
That's interesting.
That's super interesting.
Say is that you can use this to maybe if you don't want it as a root, this component, but just as imported into another root.
So let's maybe sum up. We have like it's almost end of our session for today. So it looks super intuitive. I'm more in love with this framework than I was before. I didn't know it actually. Now I at least know how it, like the structure a little bit, and looks like really nice. So why, for me, I'm just asking myself why to learn like React or Vue if this one seemed to be like way more performant than the others, and intuitive it is also, like more intuitive for me at least. And it's just I'm looking forward to build like some basic applications with this, just to see how it works.
Yeah.
Even like completely static applications without any backend requests would be also perfectly okay with me, just for the beginning, like using it in a kind of Jekyll way, just a replacement for Jekyll. Yeah, we'll definitely mess with this during the weekend. Next week we can continue, or maybe I don't know if I will be so far, like to showcase what I have built with this thing.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I will definitely take time a little bit to dive deeper, but for now that should be enough, I guess.
Next week I should be still busy with Flutter projects. So maybe I limit the number of active projects a little to just some.
Yeah, it feels like you are exhausted. Maybe it was just today, I don't know, but
today a little bit exhausted, but yeah, I have to switch between projects too much as of now, so I have to see how I can get the number of projects down. Yeah.
That's super crazy. If you have like multiple projects going on, you just can be becoming insane, really, because that's just attention span. I think you can concentrate more or less switching between them, like on 2-3 projects, like for the most part, and more. In my case, it's just too distracting. You just go crazy if you even set like schedule like 4 hours for this project, 4 hours for another one, and then it goes and goes to many other projects, and it's just at some point I don't know.
Yeah, for me, if it's just some projects are just like planning and not like really developing, it's okay.
Not coding. Oh yeah.
But not coding. If I would have to code within 10 different projects at the same time, that would be impossible.
Hey Lucas, let's stop the recording and maybe we can chat afterwards, like for a couple of minutes more.
Yeah.